A dolphin with military training has discovered a historic torpedo in the United States, and it could end up in a museum. The torpedo, not the dolphin. In a moment, we'll explain everything, but first, are birds evolving to be more effective at dodging traffic? Joining me now is Professor Steve Pointing, Director of AUT's Institute for Applied Ecology. Thank you for coming in for our science chat this morning. Tell me a little bit about this study. So what it's suggesting is that birds have developed shorter wings around some areas of traffic.
Yes, it's an interesting study. So essentially it was conducted over 30 years, quite a long-term study. And the findings were that wild-caught birds, those caught in nets away from traffic, had significantly shorter wings than those caught rather inadvertently by impacting trucks and cars. So the roadkill birds effectively had longer wings, and the implication was that the shorter winged birds, much like a fighter jet, were more agile and therefore able to avoid traffic. And
is the suggestion here that they have adapted through, natural selection? Their wings are shorter because they are breeding, I guess, near traffic.
In a way, yes. Natural selection doesn't work like that. Natural selection doesn't give you what you want. It removes deleterious traits. So the suggestion is that longer-winged birds are less able to avoid the roadkill scenario, and therefore they're being killed off and therefore not breeding and seeding the next generation. Yeah.
So it's that's just how it's occurred. Is it possible to make a scientific conclusion from this?
I think partially. The one big caveat is, of course, that this doesn't take into account behaviour, and there are several accounts of behaviour in other urban animals adapting to their environment. One good example is dogs. A lot of stray urban dogs evolve a crab-like gait to try and avoid traffic when they cross the road. So behaviour could be at stake too.
Okay. Tell us about this, how the US Navy is using a dolphin to find historic torpedoes. This is quite fascinating.
It's great, isn't it? It brings back memories of Flipper.
It does.
Yes, so essentially dolphins have a unique ability, much like other cetaceans. They have an echolocation ability, so they have their own inbuilt sonar where they send out the clicking noise that you hear at the aquarium. Essentially is a sound pulse that they send out, and the reflections tell them what their surrounding environment is. And what these dolphins have been trained to do is to identify foreign objects on the seabed. So that's what this dolphin has done in this case. Which,
suggests, doesn't it, that I guess that, just how intelligent these mammals are.
Yeah, I mean, probably the best analogy is to a clever dog. I mean, they respond well to reward, and I mean, they are sentient, but I mean, I don't think anyone's suggesting they're human. But ironically, the echolocation mechanism they're using is also their worst enemy, because the US Navy uses the same device on their submarines, and there's a lot of suggestion that the naval echolocation devices are actually causing mass strandings and mortality in natural cetaceans, so that's also a concern.
Okay, now, the next thing that we're going to talk about I find quite fascinating, because, all my life I think that my grandmother and my mother have always said, come inside or get yourself dry or put on another jersey because you're going to catch a cold if you get cold. Now there's some suggestion that actually viral colds can be brought on by getting cold.
I know, it's amazing. The study, I have to admit, the study was on mice, but they're very good model systems for humans. But the study showed that the rhinovirus, which is the most common cause of winter sniffles, colds as opposed to influenza, they showed that this virus is able to defeat the immune system much more effectively after a cold exposure in humans. And this is because the human immune system is less able to kill off its own cells that are infected after exposure to cold. So effectively it's a response of our immune system rather than the virus.
Right.
But it does prove the age-old adage that, yes, you'll catch your death of cold, I guess.
Put the jersey on, as Mum says.
Yes.
All right, Professor Steve Pointing, appreciate your time.